Okay, great. Thank you and good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to place another sign-in sheet for you to sign up for to get so we have your name recorded for this training portion, the portion of the Pearson Access Next 101 training. So if you fill that out, that would be great. We're going to be using the same resource folder that we used earlier, and that's been displayed on the screen right now. It's the same one we have been putting on the chat. So some of the resources that we'll mention, you can access them there. Maybe I'll drop it again. All right, so we're going to spend some time looking at just a repeat of the introduction to Park, how to manage LEA and school accounts, how to set up users, how to register students, how to complete a personal needs profile, how to create test sessions, how to monitor testing, and how to close out testing. We'll go through a lot of information and directions, and you don't need to take notes. You can refer to this presentation later. Also, there's detailed directions and videos for each of these tasks in the Pearson website. And you can also always, for any of these, you can call the Pearson support line, and they can help you out if you're having trouble. All right, so the Park assessment, as you know, is our state level assessment in the District of Columbia for English language arts and mathematics. It's based on the Common Core state standards. The Park assessment administration is managed through the PearsonAccessNext or PAN online system. So students take the Park assessments through the app called TestNav 8 that can be accessed either through an app or on a web browser. All right, so how do you manage LEA and school accounts? So each LEA and school is set up by OSSI as an organization in the PAN system. Staff members are assigned to these organizations through user accounts. The students are then assigned to the organizations when they're registered to test. We here at OSSI, we have set up a main LEA point of contact as a district test coordinator or a DTC in the system. DTCs are then responsible for creating the rest of the accounts under the LEA. So how to manage these LEA accounts? Each year, LEA and school test coordinators should ensure that all the information is accurate. So for each school, there's points of contact, there's shipping addresses, there's contact information, and this is really important for us to have it accurately in the system because that ensures us to communicate with you when materials are shipped, and then materials are shipped to the right location. So in PAN, you can go to set up an organizations, and then you can view and edit the school information. So once you're in the school information, you can find the address and the contact information and their contacts and shipping information. Okay, so setting up users. You start by assigning staff roles. Park staff roles are documented in your school security plan and your school test security file and in PAN. In PAN, you can allow different staff to complete tasks before, during, and after testing. As in every task in PAN, there's always at least two ways to do this. One is by sending a file or spreadsheet, uploading that into the system, or doing it individually. So if you choose to do it on a spreadsheet, you have to make sure that the fields are correctly formatted. If you choose to do that individually, you can follow. Can you go to the next? There you go. You can follow these steps. You will go to set up users. You select a task, then you create and edit users. Click start, and then you create. When you're creating a user, either individually or by file upload, you need to make sure you give it an active begin date. So when you want the user to have access to the system, so you may want to have this person trained before they have access to PAN. So it's important to have an accurate begin date. And also there's another date for the access to stop. So you can also give it a day for in the future for the user to have the end of the activity, for them to have access to the PAN system. So to start, can you go to the next slide? If you don't know what users you have, a good place to start is to export the user data. So and for that you will go to setup, import, export data. You select the task. You select import, export data. You select start. You do an user export, and then you process it. The system gives you a file with all the users in your org, and then you can start with that file and update it with the dates to make sure people, your users have access. And then when your file is ready, you would upload the file. Can you go to the next? There you go. So you go to import, export data, then you select the task, import, export data, start, and then you do an import. An import means you're uploading the file. You select browse, you select your file, and then you process. And if there's a problem in the file with any data that's not correctly formatted, the system will let you know, and then you'll have to redo this step.
Daniel, before we move on, we've had a question in the chat about testing coordinators accessing PAN for the first time to be able to complete these steps. So can you provide information about how they get access?
Yes. So we started giving access to LEA coordinators that have given us their information or have given OSSI their information. We have I shared earlier in the chat a link to a form that you can fill out if you're the LEA coordinator. Maybe we can repost that. If you fill out that form, if you're the LEA coordinator, we can give you access. Otherwise, you can send me an email and I can help you with that. I know we have a few non-public schools. In the case of non-public schools, you can reach to me directly, and I can help you get access to the system. So I reposted a form. If you're the LEA coordinator, test coordinator, you can fill that out. Let us know, and we can give you access to PAN. And
I know that there are a couple of folks who said that Google has been blocked by their parent company, so they can't access certain things. In that case, just please send us an email and we can make sure that you get the resources that you need.
Are there any other questions about that?
I don't see any other questions in the chat.
Oh, I see. Who to contact? Yeah, you can contact.
Sorry. I did put my name in the chat previously. I'm Stephanie Snyder, and my email is stephanie.snyder, SNYDER, @dc.gov, or Daniel has also put his information in the chat.
All right, so let's go on. Registering students. So what registration does in PEN is they align each student with a grade or course and a test. OSSI has registered students in grades 3 through 8. LEAs then verify the registration and make adjustments for students in grades 7 and 8 that are taking advanced mathematics courses. So if you have any students that need to take advanced mathematics tests and they're in middle school, you have to indicate that we have not registered those students. And also you need to register all high school students participating in PARC based on their course enrollment. So PARC registration is uploaded into PEN through a spreadsheet called the Student Registration and Personal Needs Profile, or SRPNP. So some of the fields that are included in this file are the LEA and school code, student name, student identifier, birthday, current grade. There's other demographic information. That's where you put which tests the students are taking. There's a few new fields, including mode of instruction that need to be filled out. There's directions on how to complete the SRPNP file in the PearsonAccessNext, and the field definitions guide that's included in the folder that we shared earlier. In the student registration personal needs profile field definitions guide, you will see each name and value and the definitions for each of the columns in that registration file. It also includes instructions how to create and import that into the PEN system. You can also register students individually if you only have one or a few students. And these are the directions how to do that. You go to setup, then select students, select tasks, create, edit students and registration, select start. Then you complete all the fields that you will complete in the file. And this time you're just completing in the prompts. You select create, then select register students tab. You complete again the relevant fields. You click on save, select manage students test, and then you complete those fields and then select save. Okay. So completing the personal needs profile. So we talked about how we registered students with that SRPNP file, but this is this part of that file that you need to complete to document accommodations and accessibility features so that the system will know which features to provide a student. So accommodations and accessibility features are identified for each student in the SRPNP file. They do require students to have an IEP, a 504 plan, or an EL plan that details these features. They can be assigned to any student based on the policies established by the LEA or the school. As you can see here in this graph, accessibility features are available to all students and built into the test. There's accessibility features that also are identified in advance and are there for selected students, like text-to-speech, for example. And then there's accommodations that are they're guided by what's on the EL plan or the IEP plan or the 504 plan. All right, so you need to work with the special education coordinator to create policies and assign accommodations and accessibility features effectively. LEA and school policies should be created to ensure these are done assigned with equity. The accommodations and accessibility features should be reflective of what the students use in the typical testing experience. They should practice using this accommodation and accessibility features prior to testing. And we ask you to refer to the testing accommodation guides for considerations for providing remote accommodations. All right, so how to complete the personal needs profile. So there's a column for each accommodation and accessibility feature. You have to reference the student registration and personal needs profile field definitions guide to find the locations within the file and how to indicate those so that the file can be imported and accepted. Again, you can do this for an individual student if you don't want to use the file import. You will go to setup students, you will find the student, then select task, manage student test, select start. Then you would select the student test and complete the fields, and then select save. All right, test sessions. Test sessions are created in PAN. They can be, again, created manually within each student account, or for large groups, you can do it through the SRPNP file upload. Okay, so you will select testing sessions, select tasks, create edit sessions, start. You complete the relevant fields and select save if you're doing one student at a time. A test session groups, can you go to the next slide? All right, so the test sessions group students for management by the test administrator during testing. The students are associated with test sessions to begin testing. From the test session in PAN, student testing tickets can be printed and tests can be activated, monitored, and closed. We have naming conventions for test sessions, and here on the next screen, here you go. You can see some other examples of test session names and then test administrator names. You have to follow the naming convention for those. So some of those examples are there, and we check on those once you submit your test security plan. Ready. So monitoring testing. So during testing, you can use the PAN system to see to monitor where your students are in the progression of taking the test. Prior to testing, you can use this section. Can you go to the next screen? There we go. You should check the student and to make sure that the accommodations are showing up, are appropriately given to the student. So you'll see the student identifier, their name, and then you'll see, as indicated here in the red, you'll see an indicator that tells you if there's an accommodation or an accessibility feature. In this case, you can see that the student has text-to-speech. If you see that the student has the incorrect accommodation, don't let them log into the system. You first have to correct this in PAN through the SRPNP. Once you see that the student has been given the correct accommodation, then you'll have the student start a test. All right, close up testing. So daily, you want to go into PAN to make sure that all test sessions are closed. Particularly this year, we have a new feature that allows students to log in and auto-resume their sessions in case that if they're testing remotely, they lose the connection. It doesn't require you to restart the session before they can log in. So at the end of the day of testing, if the student has not submitted or close out their test themselves, you have to make sure you do it daily. So to do that, you go to testing, students in session, you locate the session list, you click add selected, you ensure that all students are complete, and then you select stop session. All right, so are there any questions before we go on? We're almost to them.
There is a question about when you use the PAN training site and when you use regular PAN versus the training site.
Yeah, I can give you, so the training site is set up in the same way we have the regular site, except OSSI has not loaded or registered students. You can register students using the SRPNP. You can assign them tests. So if you assign a PARC ELA test, they'll get the practice test. And you can do everything you could do in the regular site. You can get their tickets. You can start testing. You can stop sessions. You can do everything you can do in the regular site.
Yeah, I would say the training site it's mainly a bit of a sandbox so that you can practice doing all of the tasks of adding students and importing files and creating sessions in a way that won't impact the actual live registration of students. So it's something that is for you to just practice and become familiar with PAN without the pressure of it being the real site and that information that goes directly to Pearson. They are not synced. They are completely separate, the training site versus the real live site.
Yeah, they're not synced, and they do have the same orgs, so the same schools. One person from the LEA, so the LEA test coordinator has access. You will have to provide access to anybody else if you want them to access the training site, in the same way you do with the regular site. So giving them access to the regular site does not give them access to the training site. You'll have to do that separately. Okay. All right, so support, and as we mentioned before, there's a lot of support on how to do each one of the tasks required for testing. If you go to the support assessment at Pearson.com, there's for each task they have a list of steps. They also have videos that can help you accomplish those. And if you go to the next, there's an example there of what's available. You can also contact PearsonAccessNext support at Pearson Customer Service, and I think we've shared that before, and they are available from 6 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. You can also chat with them. If you have further trouble, you can email me, and I can help you with any trouble you may have with PAN if Pearson is unable to resolve your question. There's some resources. Again, this is, I think, I believe the same ones that Stephanie already shared. And I don't know if there's any other questions.
So there's a question about, I think it also has to do with the training site versus the live site and where it's best to give administrators practice and training modules. So the training modules are separate from PAN. The training modules are OSSI's test security training that's required so that LEA coordinators understand requirements on the OSSI side, and then the LEA coordinators can adapt those slides to provide training to their school test coordinators and test administrators. So the training modules is, yeah, something specific. In terms of understanding how to use PAN and accessing training modules that are available for that specific system, I think that either site is fine, either the training site or the live PAN site, because the training modules are, if you click on them, they open a separate window, so you're not actually manipulating things within existing registration information. So those modules can be accessed through either the training or the live site, but yeah, it is important to be aware of which one you're on so that you're not accidentally changing live information that's going to Pearson. And if you open the training site versus live PAN, all of the screenshots that have been in this presentation, there's kind of a bluish background, and that's the live site. The training site has brown instead of blue. So that's one way to tell which of the two that you're in. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, let me scroll through to our contact information. Our names are here, and I realize now that our email addresses are not, but those can also be found on OSSI's website, ways to get in touch with members, especially specifically of OSSI's assessment team. All of that is publicly available on OSSI's website, so please feel free to reach out to any of us on specific questions that you have regarding setup or questions about administration. And yes, absolutely, as you're working through things, feel free to reach out if you do have specific questions. And again, Pearson support site or Pearson Call Center also is available to take questions specific to PearsonAccessNext and any actions that are happening within that site too.
We have a copy of the presentation in the Google folder. So if you're able to access that, you can go into this page and click on those.
Yeah, and for those of you who cannot access Google, please do feel free to email me, Stephanie Snyder. My email is just stephanie.snyder@dc.gov, and I'll be sure to share those resources with you. And they will be posted publicly on OSSI's website in the next couple of days, as soon as I can pull down the recording and send it off to our website updaters. So I'm hoping that will be before the end of this week. All right, well, I just want to thank you all again for joining us this afternoon. I know that I'm sure you still have a lot more questions, but again, please feel free to reach out at any point. We are here to support you and to help you be successful in this spring 2021 administration. Thank you all for your time, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.